Hello everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a missing 37-year-old mother from Florida who has now been found dead in a barn in a shallow grave in Alabama. Who did it? Who's in custody? What's going on with her daughter? What's going on with the family? What led up to this happening? Hopefully I have some answers for you guys, so stick around and we're going to dive right on into it.
I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. So how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a wonderful week. If you are new here, welcome. I am so glad to have you. I hope you hear something that, new that you learn about this case. I hope you take a look at some of my other videos and maybe learn something new about other cases that you might be following. I am a true crime channel. That's what I do here. And today we are going to be talking about a woman by the name of Cassie Carli. She is 37 years old and was reported missing by her family after she did not return home from picking up her daughter from her ex during a routine custody exchange.
Words, what Cassie means to you and the person that she is.
Cassie is just full of life. She is so happy. Anyone that's been around her can just feel her energy is always just full of love and light. And she has touched so many people, not just in our family. I mean, she was the glue in our family that held us together, but in the community. She loved her city of Navarre. She loved the beach. She loved the outdoors. Taking her daughter to the beach was the highlight of her day. She would go daily if she could. She just so full and excited and hopeful for the future.
A very strong person.
So strong.
Cassie and I went to high school together, and I've seen so many people from high school come out in the last 5 days. It's fueling our fire. Like, we're not stopping until we have Cassie and Sailor home. And I have yet to meet a single person with a bad thing to say about her.
Yes.
I can't think of anybody that doesn't like Cassie or wouldn't want to hang out with Cassie, because she is always cutting up and laughing. Like, when I think of Cassie, the first word that comes to my mind is like joy.
And you can tell with the community rallying.
How tragic can it get? Now, this, I want to tell you guys right now, is a DV case. It is very clear to me that this is a DV case that had escalated over time. And I think we're going to find out a lot about this eventually, especially once we get the autopsy report back. It was done today. They do have the report and they have some findings, although most findings from autopsies take weeks to come back, for everything. But I'm hoping that we have a cause of death sometime this week. I know police are hoping the exact same thing because they want to keep Marcus Spanevelo in jail. And that is where he is right now. So let's get into the story and give you guys some background and where we're at as of today. Okay. So as I said, this was a routine custody exchange that would happen every other weekend, like many arrangements for families that share custody of their kids when they separate. This meeting usually took place in Destin, Florida at the Walmart, which was between both of their residences. It was a big and active parking lot, plenty of lighting, and this was why Cassie had originally chosen it. She had issues with Marcus in the past, which we are going to talk about towards the end of this video. This meeting, however, was to be held at a local bar restaurant. It was actually closer to where Cassie was living with her father in Navarre, Florida. This restaurant was called Juana's Pagodas, and it is completely unknown why she ended up meeting him there. So plans had changed last minute.
Her daughter, this was relatively normal, right, you guys? I mean, relatively normal to pick up her daughter on a Sunday night because her daughter was in her father's custody on the weekends. Do I have this correct? And then something went wrong. Can you kind of walk us through exactly what transpired?
It was every other weekend, and it was actually supposed to happen in Destin. It wasn't normal for her to be meeting him there. Sometimes, rare, maybe once or twice a year, she had met him in Navarre recently, because we understand that there's a family that would babysit often for Marcus when he had his daughter 2 days out of 14.
And for those of you, Marcus who was named yesterday in the press conference by the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. Marcus is the 4-year-old daughter of Cassie's father, who is in Birmingham, Alabama. But we'll get into that here in just a few moments. There's a lot to this story. And so what was it like when did you find out, all of you, when did you find out that Cassie had disappeared, and what was that like, and where did your mind go when you originally heard the news that she was missing?
Our father, you know, since she resides with him, he was the first immediate red flag when he 3 hours later and she still was not home, and he contacted me the next morning, still just so worrisome. And of course I reached out to her friends. She is always in contact with her family and friends. Even during the exchange, she would have texted. So we immediately, our red flag was Marcus, because she has always had some concern for her safety in general. But we know Cassie would have reached out to us if something was not looking right or suspicious.
Yeah, she not like her at all.
And, you know, but being that it was closer to her home, I don't think she thought twice about it. And so she was scheduled to meet Marcus at 7 p.m. She tells her father, I'm running out. I'm going to go grab Sailor. I'm going to be right back. I'm just running up to Juana's right up the street. So this was supposed to be a 10-minute, you know, in and out kind of thing. So her father falls asleep after she leaves, and he wakes up at about 10:45 p.m. and he finds that Cassie and Sailor are not home yet. He immediately begins calling Cassie, but he gets no answer. And finally, he receives some text messages back, and they are odd, to say the least. Though at the time, he doesn't notice them as being odd. So he texts her, Cassie, I'm trying to call you. What's going on? Nothing. He texts her again. I'm freaking out, Cass. Call me as soon as you get this message. Still no response. But then all of a sudden he gets a response. And it says, I'm sorry, car was acting up and I broke my phone. Marcus is working on it. I will stay at his place tonight. He's paying me to do some stuff around the house. Her dad texts back, are you in PCB? I'm assuming Panama City Beach. She texts back, no, the screen is jumping all over the place. Let me see if he can get this fixed and I'll call you. Her dad texts back, I'm going to sleep. I just needed to know my girls were all right. So at the time, you know, Cassie tells her father she's running out real quick to drop, you know, to pick up Sailor, and she'll be right back. He falls asleep, wakes up, she's not there. He's calling her frantically, but then she responds and she says, from what he understands to be a very legitimate excuse or reason that she's not home. She's having car trouble, her phone's messed up, Marcus is going to fix it. She's offered to call him back. He's feeling secure in this, and he goes back to sleep. So later on, this strikes everybody as off and wrong. For one, her sister and friends have said she would never have Marcus help her out with any of that. She was close enough to home that she would have called a friend. She would not have trusted Marcus. She certainly would not have gone to Marcus's home.
Yes. That the text messages my father received from my sister's phone were nothing of typical speak my sister would have said, especially the claims of car and phone troubles at the same time. She would have walked to the nearest gas station if she had to before getting Marcus for any type of help in a situation like that.
Something else I've looked at with these text messages recently is if you look at the way the punctuation is and the verbiage, he slips up, I believe, in some of these text messages and leaves out words like he typically does in his own text messages. It sounds like him.
And I want to just backtrack for our audience, because I know you guys have been talking about this so much, but what you are saying is that you do not believe that the text messages about the car being broken down, those text messages that went from Cassie's phone to the phone of her father were not sent by Cassie and
We do not believe that those messages were sent by Cassie.
And who do you believe sent them?
Marcus.
Marcus.
She's been
The last
telling
person
me,
to see her alive.
she's been telling me for the last 2 years that this dude has been threatening her. He's pulled a gun out. She's worried. She's never wanted me to come around. And she's always said, if something happens to me, it's him. And
Cassie wouldn't leave her daughter. The minute I knew that she didn't have her purse, her phone, her car, or her child, we knew. We know.
So that struck the sister and friends as odd, but they're not the ones who last talked to her, so they didn't find this out until Monday. So Monday, after still no word other than those text messages, he gets a hold of Rayanne, who is Cassie's sister, younger sister, but they are very, very close. And she's like, no, this doesn't sound right at all. She would not be with Marcus right now. We haven't heard from her. She tries texting her as well, gets nothing back. So they report her missing.
But we know Cassie would have reached out to us if something was not looking right or suspicious.
yeah, it's not like her at all. It's not like her.
Mm-mm.
So I
We
want
know beyond a shadow of a doubt she would not have left anywhere with Marcus, being in Navarre, her hometown where she grew up, and she could have called hundreds of people within a mile's radius to come and get her. Yes.
and this is
Her daughter.
Tuesday on March 29th, Cassie's car is found. It's a gray Toyota Venza, and it was found actually quite a bit away from the actual restaurant. Now, it was still in a parking area in the vicinity, but it was not in the Juana's Pagoda's parking lot, nor was it in the parking lot directly next to it for overflow parking. It was found way in the back by a water tower, and as you can see in these photos, it was pretty far away. So it's almost like, she's thinking she's meeting him right there at Juana's. It was a Sunday night. I don't know if it would have been packed at that point or not. I know it is usually packed there at spring break for a lot of people. I don't know, but somehow he got her all the way out by this water tower and nowhere near where a lot of people would have been. And what really worries me about that is, what did Sailor see? But we'll talk about that in the end. Let's get through some of these facts right away. Okay. Wednesday, March 30th, police locate Marcus in Birmingham, Alabama, where he had been working on a job site. They also recover Skylar there. She is safe and unharmed, and they put her into custody with Alabama Protective Services. Thursday, FBI stepped up to help find Cassie. Marcus was initially questioned in Alabama, but police left, and what he didn't know, though, was they put eyes on him. So while they did leave, making him think that he had gotten away with things, they obviously saw something because they put eyes on him, and eventually he is caught in Lebanon, Tennessee, and arrested for evidence tampering, among some other things. Evidence being that he had Cassie's cell phone, and I think he tried to destroy it, or he had gotten rid of it. So I had just begun researching this case, and I posted to my community page like 10 minutes before this press conference came out, saying that she had been found in a barn in a shallow grave on a property that Marcus is connected to. How is he connected to this property? We don't know that yet. Maybe friend of the family, maybe friend, I don't know. Marcus Spanevelo was already in custody, though, and hopefully that is where he's going to stay for the rest of his life. Obviously not in the jail that he's in now, but hopefully prison will be his new home for all eternity. Police are now awaiting the results of an autopsy so that they can go after some more charges. They are looking to charge him with homicide. It is very evident by how Sheriff Bob Johnson speaks when he speaks in these press conferences. So during the first press conference, Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson said some telling things that led me to believe that he had already had evidence that Marcus was involved in her disappearance. And now, having found her, he obviously has enough that he feels that Marcus is responsible for what happened to her. He said that Marcus was the last to see her. He said Marcus had their child. And he also said that he's been married for 32 years, and not once has his wife ever left her purse behind and just walked off. During the press conference, when he had to make the heartbreaking reveal that Cassie's body had been found, he had some other choice words for Marcus that I can't agree more with. He said that while this is a tragic finding, it does bring the family closure. The fact that he found her while Marcus was still in jail assures that he will be staying locked up, and that is very important. He assured the public that they have a lot of evidence against him and that there is a great chance that Marcus Spanevelo will either be away for life or get the needle. And he says, hopefully, the needle. He also refers to him as a dirtbag and said that he hasn't been at all cooperative since day one. And that was a very telling thing for Sheriff Johnson. You know, the mother of your child is missing and you can't be bothered. He came off as annoyed even that he was getting phone calls asking about her from the family and police and everything. It was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't care. You know, and that's the mother of your child and you don't care. You know, and then come to find out they had this custody battle and everything else going on. Dude, you are not looking good at all. Cassie Carli was identified by a tattoo, Bob Johnson had said in the press conference. And he didn't say what the tattoo was or where it was, but I am guessing it was a tattoo that she shared with her younger sister, Rayanne, of a lizard with LUA, with her father's handwriting tattooed in the middle of it. Now, this tattoo was said by Rayanne to have been done in their father's kind of honor. Their father had a big tattoo of a lizard, so to honor him, the sisters went and got these matching lizard tattoos with LUA in their dad's handwriting, which stands for loving you always. When they put their feet side by side, the lizards make a heart. Imagine your sister being identified by the tattoo that you share with her. I mean, getting those tattoos done together was probably such a happy, fun, joyous experience, and now that's how she was identified as being deceased. Imagine. I can't. I can only imagine, and it's heartbreaking. But the one I really feel for right now is Sailor. She is only 4 years old and was ripped away from everything that she knew. You know, she's with her dad. She knows she's going home to mommy. You know, mommy's meeting us. You know, mommy's coming, you know. And not only did that, you know, as soon as mommy gets there, what happened? What did she see? You know, and I'm not saying he did this in front of her, but I don't think she would have, from what I understand, she never would have went with him willingly. So the last time she saw her mother, she probably saw her mother in distress by her own father. And yes, she's 4, but 4 is old enough to understand things. I have an almost 2-year-old, and she understands when people are fighting or people are arguing or people are upset. You know, they understand that. And I just feel so bad for this little girl because she will never see her mommy ever again. And I say it like that because that's what she is to her. That's mommy. And there is nothing worse for a child than to lose a parent. You know? I can only pray that she did not see anything happen to her mother. And that she is back with her family as soon as possible. I'm not sure if she's back yet. I know they were working on getting her reunited with her family and getting her out of there. But I mean, can you imagine whatever she did end up seeing? It wasn't good. There's no, unless he didn't bring her to meet. That could have been it too, though. I'm hoping that. I am hoping that the little girl was not with when he went to Juana's Pagodas to meet Cassie. And when she got there, she's like, where's Sailor? Sailor's not here. I'm going to take you to her. Maybe something like that happened. And, you know, and Sailor saw nothing of it. So let's just hope that that at least happened, that she has no clue. But she's still stuck in DCF care, you know, and that's, you're 4. And then to know you're never going to see your mother again is just traumatic and heartbreaking. My heart aches for this little girl. It'll be hard enough for her growing up knowing that not only was her mother, the person that she loved more than anyone else, was taken from her by the man that she loved more than any other man, her father. Someone she trusted. Until then, though, here are some things that we know about the case and some of the background of the relationship between Cassie and Marcus. So this can kind of help us see why it got to this point. Cassie and Marcus met about 4.5 years ago. They had only been dating very, very briefly when Cassie found out that she was pregnant. It wasn't too long into Cassie's pregnancy that the red flags began popping up. For Cassie and her family, both. Marcus was very controlling and manipulative. And that controlling nature and manipulation only grew after the baby came along. And eventually, Cassie ended their relationship. They did vow to be the best parents that they could be, co-parenting and raising Sailor together, as much as possible. She would be seeing her father and her mother, and they were going to make it work for Sailor. But the abuse escalated after this breakup, as these types of relationships usually do. He filed dozens of false police reports against Cassie. She says he called CPS so many times, I nearly came to know most of the staff by name. Cassie claimed this on a fundraiser that her sister put up for her, a GoFundMe page, when she was trying to fight for custody. Cassie also said the passive-aggressive abuse was so bad, I had to trespass him from my apartment on several occasions. Now, even though Marcus didn't make it easy for her, she never wanted her daughter to grow up without her father. She put up with it all. She was a very good mother. It is not easy when you are dealing with an ex like that and you have children together. And I wonder, did she ever think it would get as far as it got? I feel like at a point she was noticing some signs, but we'll talk about this. Let me just finish this part and we'll talk. So at the time of Cassie's death, there was a custody order in place, but it was temporary. It stated that temporary full custody was with Cassie and that Marcus had Sailor every other weekend and every other holiday. So they were in court. They were both fighting for primary custody. Cassie was obviously seeking primary custody, as the mother usually does. And she didn't, even though she wanted primary custody, she did not want that to affect the relationship between Marcus and Sailor at all. She still wanted it basically to be how it was now. You know, every other weekend, every other holiday, if you want her, let me know. We can work something out, but I want primary custody. She lives with me. She has lived with me the entire time. I don't want that to change. And it's not like they lived super close to each other either. He was living in Birmingham, Alabama, and she's living in Navarre, Florida. So, you know, and it was said that she was staying with her father to kind of get on her feet. She had just gotten another job, and you know, she was trying to get money together and get things in order to get her own place, and she was very excited about doing all of that. But unfortunately, you know, Marcus probably had this status. You know, he's living on his own. He's probably making better money than her, and so there was kind of a, you know, in the court system, who would she better be living with? One who could support her more. But a lot of states are not going to take a child away from a mother and put them with the father if there's no reason they shouldn't be with the mother. So I think they were battling that, but I think he had more money than her, and she wasn't able to fight. So her sister started her this GoFundMe to kind of help get some money for lawyers' fees. So Marcus wanted it to be the other way around. He wanted primary custody. But what really worried Cassie and her family about that was that when Sailor was with him, Marcus refused to allow her to communicate with Cassie's side of the family at all. So when he had Sailor, she wasn't to call and talk to the mother or anybody. Marcus, you know, and it terrified the whole family that if Marcus was granted primary custody, that he would keep Sailor from Cassie as much as he could get away with. Like, she would have to go and fight him all the time on being able to even see her own daughter. And this was a fear that wasn't just, you know, a fear. This was something that he had already kind of done in the past. So he had already done this in the past, and she could only imagine what the future would hold had he gotten primary custody. So another thing that was written by Cassie in this GoFundMe was that after one of Sailor's regular scheduled weekend visits, that he never showed. And he kept Sailor from her mother for over 2 weeks. She had no contact with her daughter for 2 weeks. She had no knowledge of where she was and didn't speak with her at all. She says, I called everyone I knew. I sought help from local police and every government agency I could think of. No one could or would help me. My only hope was a powerful attorney who would not fall for his manipulation or believe his lies. It has also been said that she had once filed a DVI against Marcus, which is basically an order of protection. I don't know for certain if that was ever actually filed. Bob Johnson was who said that in that last press conference, that he had heard that she had. It must have been denied, or she didn't file it because they were meeting, they met, which would have been completely against something like that. So maybe she, you know, wrote it out and everything and never turned it in, or maybe she did and they didn't find probable cause to grant it. So either way, she must have been pretty scared to even talk about filing that. It's possible that the only reason that she didn't file it, if she didn't, was either because of her daughter or because she was threatened by Marcus using their daughter as leverage. And what I mean by that is she either didn't file it because it was going to be a difficult thing for her daughter. You know, maybe she didn't want her daughter to ever suffer from any of this. She wanted her to be able to see her father and have a relationship with her father. He must have been a good dad. He must have really cared for her, and Cassie must have seen that and didn't want anything to, you know, that relationship to be affected. So, and when I say leverage, he could have been like, you do this and I'm going to take her. And I'm going to leave with her. And you know you can't fight me. You know you don't have the money for it. You don't, whatever he could have said to her. You know. Who knows what really happened. This is speculation. But coming from where I've come from, I know how it works. I know how the system works. And I know how certain men work. And he definitely seems to be a certain type of, I won't even call him a man, guy. So this GoFundMe was created in August of 2021 by Cassie's sister, Rayanne. As I said, it was to help raise money for legal fees during this custody battle. And in the description, it alleges that Marcus was abusive and narcissistic. It seems that Sheriff Bob Johnson agrees. I sure as heck agree. So we're waiting on the autopsy preliminary findings. Hopefully they will come out soon and they will reveal the cause of death and they can go after this dirtbag because he had a little hearing. And here's a little quick snippet of that.
And do you spell it? The last name, how do you spell that? Spanevelo. Okay. And I don't have a folder on you, so I'm going to ask the magistrate to tell you what the folder says you're charged with.
Your Honor, it's got a fugitive from justice charge taken out by Trooper Cotton with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. The defendant is charged on the oath of a credible person by a judge in the state of Florida. The defendant does have issued warrants for his arrest with full extradition. The defendant was stopped for a traffic violation that occurred on I-65 in Murray County. And it's got the whole from Santa Rosa County, Florida, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Spanevelo, are you willing to waive extradition?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Well, they have
There's some things. There are some things that need to be resolved before willing to go that route.
Okay. Well, I'll put you back on the review docket for 13 April, and then we'll meet again to review your status as far as extradition. Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure that my daughter is taken care of with the people that I'm living her with.
Okay.
So,
April the 13th, we'll review your extradition status at that time. Under rules and procedure, they have 10 days in which to notify the state of their intent to extradite. And so we'll check it back on April the 13th.
all right.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. That completes all of our work. We'll be up shortly for poll.
In this, you can see he waived his extradition. And what that means is he's basically being a pain in the ass at this point. He is saying, no, I'm not going to move. I'm going to sit right here. And he's saying that the reason that he's doing that is because of his daughter, because he wants to make sure that she's safe with who he left her with. Now, what does all of that mean? I'm not sure. What I'm definitely going to do another video on this as soon as we get the findings back from the autopsy. I'm also going to go a little bit more into Marcus, but what I want to talk about right now is you can see he does get a little bit emotional when he thinks of his daughter. I don't know. Is it hitting him what he has done to her? I don't know. But this guy's a real piece of work. He has not been helpful at all. He doesn't talk. When he was asked, do you want to talk? Do you have anything to say about what happened to her or anything? All he says is lawyer. Not, I want my lawyer, or no, I need my lawyer. Lawyer. He doesn't want to say anything. He is not trying to incriminate himself. And why is that? Because he knows what he did. And this is really sad, because you think you have a child with someone and it doesn't work out, but you can always, kind of come together and figure out what's best for the child. If you can do that, that is the best type of relationship to have. So maybe your marriage didn't work. So maybe your relationship didn't work out. But you guys have this beautiful child or children, and you both want the best for those children. And so you both put on your game face and you make it work for the kid. But it takes two parents to do that. And a lot of times, unfortunately, only one parent wants to play fair. The other parent is either too ticked off, too stuck in the past, too narcissistic, too controlling, or too hurt even to agree to anything that the other parent wants. Even if that parent is being completely rational in what they're asking for. It was said that he fought with her about everything. The school she would be attending soon for going into kindergarten. Anything that anything that Cassie wanted for her daughter, he had a problem with it. And it was always going to be that way. Also, another thing, that week, this week, he was scheduled to start paying some back support that he owed for child support that he had not paid. He was supposed to pay some lawyer fees. There were things that were happening this week with their custody case and their child support arrangement that now obviously no longer need to happen because Cassie is not here anymore. So there are motives here. There are motives, and it's not just that he is a dirtbag or he is a narcissist or he is any of these alleged things. There's a written in black and white motive for why he did this. So my heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to little Sailor, that sweet, beautiful little girl that has no idea what just happened to her. And no idea why. At some point she's going to want to know what happened. I don't know how they're going to go about that, man. I would never want to be in that position to have to tell a child that their mother was killed by their father while used you as the lure, as the bait. Because that's what happened. The only reason she was meeting him was for her daughter. I just hope, that just came to me while I was talking earlier. I think that's probably what he did, is he left her with a babysitter or something, and he showed up without her, because I think she wouldn't have fought so hard and she wouldn't have put up with so much shit for Sailor to be with Marcus if Marcus was a shitty dad. So he had to have been a good dad, been being a good dad, because I don't think she would have put up with that shit. She would have right away been like, no way. You're just as vile with her as you are with me. You are not getting her, period. So I think he had to have been a decent father. And in that case, I would hope that he did not have his daughter anywhere near the circumstances. But now that I'm starting to ramble, I'm going to shut up now. I gave you guys the information that I knew. I know I left some things out because I didn't type them up in here, and my computer's being really stupid right now. So, but everything important that I have found out is here. And I found, some photos and some other information out that I have been showing throughout this, such as, distance and locations and all of that. So I will talk to you guys about this when we get a little bit more information. Obviously, the autopsy back and charges are filed, so we can see what we're working with here and what this bastard did to this woman. And hopefully we will watch him get put away and the key thrown out. Talk to you guys later. Like and subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, yada, yada, yada. I hate saying it, but You know, if I don't remind you to subscribe, then maybe you're not going to remember to do it. I don't know. So subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Love y'all, and have a great week.